What time is it? Sweet. It's going to be a good panel then. Nice. I'm going to take my seat. So pretty much what we're just going to do, I'm sure you guys know what we're going to do because you're pros at this, is just a little bit of Q&A. So all those weird, awkward questions that you ever wanted to ask about Adventure Time or anything like that, people say, you probably shouldn't ask that question, go for it. It's totally fine. Yeah. So I think, is this...
there's a microphone right up here, so if you guys want to just line up.
Line up in an orderly fashion.
Sure
Try not to throw any elbows at the other people to get there first. It's okay. If you do, I won't tell anyone, but, it's a little frowned upon.
And make sure you talk close to the microphone so we can hear you. All right, first person.
Hey, I was wondering, growing up, did you have any actor or voice actor who really inspired you to act?
Yeah, when I was growing up, pretty much just all the people I work with now, ironically. When I was growing up, I just watched a lot of cartoons. Some of my favorites were like Teen Titans, Kim Possible, Recess, and a bunch of other, like 1,000 other things, SpongeBob. And so, yeah, definitely now it's cool getting to work with them. You have John DiMaggio, obviously plays Jake, done a bajillion things. Tom Kenny, who plays SpongeBob, is the Ice King on our show. And so pretty much all of them, it was kind of weird when we first started doing the show, looking around the recording booth and seeing all these people that you've heard their voices on like 1,000 things, and you're like, you're a peer with them and you get to work with them week in and week out and have basically the best voice acting tutors and teachers and people in the business hanging out with you for the past 7 years. I think I've been doing it for 7 years now, Adventure Time. Yeah, so, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Started when I was 12 and I'm 19 now, so it's been a nice long run. We're still going too, so.
All right, thanks.
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you too, sir.
Really cool to meet you. I want to talk about Voltron.
Sweet. Let's talk about some Voltron.
First of all, I really liked you as Lance. The whole show was amazing. Everything about it is amazing.
Thank you.
I really love it. And how did
Please
you
tell me more about me, though. I'm kidding.
That's what Lance would say.
It is what Lance would say. Yeah.
How did you feel about playing? Actually, do you already know that they call him Space Sokka?
I didn't know that, but ironically, whenever I first started doing the show, when people asked me like, "Oh, what are you doing? Like, what is your character like?" My comparison would be like, I would always say, pretty much, I'm like the Sokka of this show. I'm like comic relief, some leadership qualities, and is always going after the ladies. So he's pretty much Space Sokka, which is awesome.
Yeah. So you had a lot of fun playing that guy, the guy that never has anything go right for him.
Yeah, exactly. You just get to laugh at his hilarious misadventures, and everything goes wrong for him all the time, which is fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really fun show. I'm really, really eager for more, and I know you can't say whether or not you're doing anything more.
I can say that there will be more coming from Voltron. I can't really say when or what will happen. Basically, everyone dies. Yeah,
Voltron of Thrones.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It just all becomes about Lance. The next season is just all Lance. Everyone else is gone. He's shipped them off into space. The whole thing is just his now. No. But yeah, there will be more, which I'm stoked about.
Thank you.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
Well, actually, since you already brought it up, we were going to save this for the halfway point, but you brought it up. So I have this little surprise for everybody here.
So you've probably already seen most of this, but for those of you who have not seen the new Voltron Legendary Defender yet, we have a little awesome just kind of clip trailer thing for it if you guys want to check that out. Yeah. These lights are like poof, in my face. It's like blinding. Or not. Or maybe not. Maybe we'll just look at the nice Netflix logo. Isn't that so pretty? Wow. That looks great. No? Maybe? Well, okay. Fine, be that. Well, I didn't want to watch you anyway. So, oh!
For someone in a space exploration program, you don't have much of a sense of adventure. I've been scanning the system and picking up alien chatter. They keep repeating one word: Voltron. here for a reason. Together, you will form Voltron, the greatest weapon ever known. Protector of the innocent. And our only hope to save the universe.
Jeez, no pressure. Defenders of the universe, huh? It's got a nice ring to it.
DreamWorks Voltron, Legendary Defender. All episodes now streaming only on Netflix.
Yeah, so for the rest of you, that's yeah, the whole first season is up. I think it went up about 3 weeks ago now, maybe, if that. Yeah, so if you wanted to watch it, it would probably only take you like 4.5 hours to binge it on some random afternoon. You guys got that kind of time. I know you do. So.
Oh, okay.
Oh, go for it. Yes, you were up next, sir.
Cool. Okay, so as you are, 19 now?
I am 19 now, yes.
Okay, so you're younger than most of us in the room, except for the kiddies. And what is probably the biggest thing you've had to overcome, or most difficult thing you've had to overcome in this industry?
Well, there is a little thing called puberty. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It sneaks up on you. It really does. So I don't really know, like on a serious note, I don't really know exactly what like the hardest thing for me. I mean, I guess you get to a point where you've been acting for a long time. I've been doing it since I was 5 or 6 years old. It's probably 13 or 14 years now. And usually, because of your age, you'll always be kind of looked at as like the rookie or like the kid in the room. And I don't, I don't really, it doesn't bother me really, because you are the younger one, so you still want to be respectful of everybody else that's older around you. And a lot of times people are more experienced. But it is kind of funny because a lot of times you'll have people kind of look at it as like someone they need to like show, oh, this is how you do this and stuff. But, you've been doing it for a long time, so you're kind of a veteran after a certain point. You kind of know what you're doing. That's kind of, but I don't know what I would say really are like a hard things. The voice change thing was just kind of a funny thing, and it was a little bit awkward or scary for a certain amount of time because you're like, well, I hope my voice sounds somewhat similar to what it did before voice change. I hope I don't go from being like, hey guys, what's going on, to being like, hey, what's going on, man? Because that could be a little bit problematic. But yeah, it was kind of funny, specifically for Adventure Time, because when we started the first season of Adventure Time, I was 12, and I started voice change immediately during that time. And so all the times when like Finn would scream and there'd be like voice cracks and all that stuff, that was all totally not on purpose. That was just me voice cracking. But they liked it and it sounded really funny for the character, so we went with it. And post that point, you're kind of thinking, well, are they going to like change me out or something? But the creators definitively said no, we're going to age the character throughout the show and stuff, and which is what they've done. I've been doing it ever since. And at about probably season 2 or 3, my voice stopped changing anyway. And so now, obviously, this is not what Finn sounds like, my normal voice. It's become more of a character voice now. So this is like Jeremy being like, hey, mathematical, and Finn would be like, hey, mathematical! So it's as simple as that, yeah.
All right, thank you.
For sure.
Hi,
I remember you from earlier.
Yeah.
You're cool. You're super cool.
Hi, since on Adventure Time, you know how there's Bubblegum Princess, Flame Princess? If you had to be a type of princess, what would you be?
Oh, if I had to be a type of princess. That's hard. There's so many good options. Probably like filet mignon princess. That's my favorite food, and I could just like take little bits off myself, and it would regenerate, and you just have infinite. Be pretty awesome.
And also, I know you're a fan of All Time Low, and I want to know what was your favorite All Time Low song?
That's also a hard question. Probably either Weightless or I like Love Like War a lot as well.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, those guys are super cool too. I've met them. I know them. They're big Adventure Time fans as well, which is really funny. But yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Hi, little Princess Bubblegum. You are super, super cute. How are you?
I'm good. I was just wondering what your favorite episode of Adventure Time was.
Yes, that's a good question. I think my favorite episode is probably, I like the Incendium episode where they introduced the Flame Princess and Finn's like kind of lovesick over Princess Bubblegum breakup and stuff, and Jake has to go to the Fire Kingdom and like serenade her dad and stuff. It's really funny. That whole episode is great. I also love one of the original episodes, Trouble in Lumpy Space, where Finn and Jake both get the lumps, and then we both get to do our Lumpy Space Princess impressions and sound like we're Beverly Hills Valley Girls. I'm a object. No, you're kind of my ball. A lot of fun. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hi. Just jump.
Hold on, I'll
just
come to you.
I'm just kidding. She'll come down for you. Or if you just yell really loud, I'll probably still hear it. You can probably just talk.
Okay.
Okay.
What was your hardest episode on Adventure Time?
I don't know what I would say the hardest episode is. It's just you just usually do different stuff from episode to episode. Some of them are slightly easier because it's not as much. I guess there's certain episodes. There's not a whole bunch of crazy emotional stuff going on, and it's more just kind of comedically driven, just kind of funny. So I guess the episodes that are always harder are those ones where you have those really dramatic moments where, like, per se, Finn is like going after his dad in the one episode, and his dad like rips off his arm because it's a big grass thing. This show does not sound like a kid's show when I talk about it like that. So those moments are hard because you want to get the, you want to make it sound very emotional and very real and very serious. But I don't really, it all just kind of comes down to acting. And so I think the biggest thing that you learn, especially when you do animation and voice acting, is never be afraid at times to go like too big with something. Because sometimes the bigger you go, the funnier it is, or the more crazy it is. And obviously, I've learned to go very big because Finn screams all the time. So that's the biggest thing, is you want to learn to sometimes just kind of go for it. And even if it's super embarrassing in the booth what you're doing, it ends up being awesome. So that's the main thing. Yeah.
Okay.
That's not the answer you wanted. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Hi. I was just wondering, you said that you started voice acting like at a very young age.
Yes. I started acting in general when I was 5 or 6, and then voice acting when I was probably 7 years old, I think.
Okay. So what made you, or how did you get into acting, and even more specifically, voice acting?
Yeah. So we'll go back to the very beginning. So I live in LA, California, and we moved out there for very, very different reasons. It wasn't for acting or anything. And my middle brother, Zach, had a lot of interest in movies and TV shows. And he would always camcorder. He would kind of record little videos and stuff. And I guess he realized at the age, he's a little bit older than me, that, LA is kind of where all of that stuff happens. And so he went to my dad one day and was like, "Hey, Dad, I want to do acting." And my dad's like, "Oh, gosh." I was like, but okay. So he looked up like a talent agent for like commercials or theatrical. And they took him in for a meeting, and they, met with them, talked to them and stuff, and they left, and that was kind of that. And he wanted to support his dream or what he wanted to do, but he didn't really think that it's something you can do because it's it's very hard to get into. And on their way home, the agent sent them to an audition just to see, I guess, what would happen. And so Zach went to his audition and he booked it, and it was Charlie's Angels 2 Full Throttle. Yeah, weird. But he booked it, and it was like, wow, it's so easy. You just go out in auditions, and they give you stuff, and it's awesome. It's like the funniest, easiest thing. Not the case at all. Very, very lucky that he got his first job. But after that point, I saw him doing that, and I always loved movies and TV shows, and I was like, well, crap, I want to do it too. If my big brother's doing it, I want to do it. And so just kind of springboarded from there, and I started doing like commercials and on-camera stuff, little co-star parts here and there on various TV shows. And then about 2 years after I started, probably, the agency I was with had a voiceover department, and I started working with them and going out for just like radio commercials and little things like that. Just kind of working up experience and getting a reel. And then, you just kind of, honestly, it's just kind of the grind. You just kind of work your way up the ladder, and then eventually I started going out for animation stuff. And then eventually landing Adventure Time, which some of you probably know, but ironically, my older brother, who I was talking about, did the voice of Finn or Penn in the original little Nickelodeon short before Cartoon Network picked it up. There was about 3 years in between there, and so when they started casting it, they probably just assumed that his voice had changed or whatever. And so I auditioned, and my voice sounded just like his, and I went back a couple times, got the job, and nobody knew I was his younger brother until the first day of recording. They just thought they got extremely lucky with someone who sounded like the original. And so I've been doing it ever since. And yeah, kind of kept it in the family. Didn't want it to go to some other schmo, so we still have that legacy there. It's good. But yeah, that's pretty much the case for me. So.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Jeremy.
Hello, doctor.
Hi. I'm a huge fan, like a really ridiculous
Thank you.
huge fan. So I'm really glad you're here. I got to meet Marceline Stat a few months ago at the Miami Book Fair.
Yeah, she's awesome. Yeah.
No, him.
Oh, her dad. I'm
He
sorry,
is
her dad.
awesome. Oh
She
my
is too.
God.
They're both awesome.
He was so cool.
For those of you who don't know, Olivia Olsen and Martin Olsen are, father and daughter in real life, and they play father and daughter on Adventure Time as well. Fun fact. They're super cool.
He's extremely cool, yeah.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite things on Adventure Time is when you rap. They're so bizarre. And I do it around the house too because they're so easy to do.
Which one is your favorite one?
I haven't memorized them, but basically it's like, yo, this is my rap. Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
mathematical.
Yeah.
And that's
I couldn't do it on top of my head, but yeah, those are
so I was
great.
wondering, do you make them up?
No,
simple.
pretty much everything on the show is written out by our writers and stuff. And half the time we have like the songs or the raps or whatever else, the musical components. It's like so low rent. Like it's just they're just like, okay, here's like a scratch track of just like a little clickling, ding, ding, and then just someone doing like the weirdest sounding scratch of like whatever it is, and they're like, okay, so just do that, and you're like, all right, is there like a key or anything? Like, no, just kind of, we'll see what happens. And you're like, all right, and so you just kind of go for it. But yeah, all that stuff is written out and is extremely funny. There's cases that literally where Hinden Wall, she plays Princess Bubblegum, had to do one song on the show, not as Princess Bubblegum, as like a one-off character. She had to sing this song, which I think was like a Lumpy Space Princess song. And then they're like, oh, it's actually 3 Candy Girls doing like like 3 different harmonies. Yeah. Can you just like make up 2 more harmonies to go with the part that we had? And so she literally just had to make up 2 different voices and then harmonize with herself. And yeah, so it's you just wing it half the time,
Cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Of course.
Hello. What do you think? Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. Don't worry about it.
Do you think Adventure Time helped you to get where you are in your acting career?
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of funny when it comes to acting. There's certain projects that you work on that you think, oh my gosh, this is going to be so huge for me. I'm going to go do other cool stuff because of this. And then sometimes those are just like, okay, And then you have other stuff that you do and you're not thinking it's going to be a massive thing, and it's like for Adventure Time for me, I was like, oh, it's it's a cool little animated show. You don't really think that it's gonna turn into this massive thing that has become this massive worldwide show, and it ends up being pretty much the biggest thing I've done at this point, which is just crazy to think about. And yeah, it's opened the doors for me for so many other projects in very, very weird, bizarre ways. And so, yeah, it definitely has propelled me to a much farther point. And so I'm very, very thankful for the show and what it's done for me. So, yeah, totally.
Thank you.
You're welcome. What's going on, Bimo?
Hi. All right. Thank you so much for being here, by the way.
Thank you for having me.
So in one of the episodes, Finn has the glasses, the eye thingies, where he like sees everyone differently than
Yes.
the eyes thing.
Yes.
So one of the people that he sees differently is Princess Bubblegum, in which she sees him as like as she says, like kind of like a young boy.
Mm-hmm.
What's your There's a lot of like talking, like debate on what the kind of interpretation is. What do you personally think is why he saw her like that?
Why he saw her like a young boy?
Yeah.
I have no freaking clue, to be completely honest with you. I don't even know. I really couldn't tell you. It's been so long. I'm vaguely remembering this episode now that you. You remind. I'm starting to remember it a little bit. I remember specifically asking them that too when we recorded it, and I don't even remember what their answer was. But yeah, I don't know.
Weird.
I think maybe it might symbolize him kind of coming to terms with the fact that they're not gonna have a relationship together possibly, and so he kind of maybe just thinks of her as like an equal, just kind of like a friend, like, you know, just one of the, you know, basically someone who's like on equal level with him. That's pretty much the only thing I could probably think of off the top of my head. Otherwise, I honestly have no clue. So half the stuff in the show doesn't even make sense to me, but that's what's great about it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What are you gonna do in the near future?
Probably take over the world. Yeah, that sounds about right. So yeah, to answer your question though, I'm still working on Adventure Time. We are working on the next season. I think you guys are probably in season 7. We're working on season 8. And yes, there will be more of that coming, obviously. I'm also working on that show, Voltron. The first season is up on Netflix, like I said. We're going to be doing more. Can't say when or anything like that, though. Working with my band, I go right from here to Minneapolis next week to finish recording our first full-length album. Make Out Monday. So doing that, and then also, shot a live-action series for Go90, Verizon's new platform, earlier this year. It's a comedy called Mr. Student Body President. That I play the student body president in, of a high school who takes his job way too seriously. So it's kind of like a fun, comedic, dark version of like a high school version of like a House of Cards or something like that. A lot of fun, yeah. I think it'll come out in September on Verizon's Go90 app. But yeah, so stuff.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I like your cosplay. You look super cute. You're welcome.
Hello again. More Voltron stuff from me. I am a huge anime fan, and one of the great things I liked about Voltron Legend Defender was it had a lot of really cool Shadows anime. Are there any that you recognized?
Oh, say that again?
Are there any that you recognized? Any shout-outs?
Yeah, it's just swollen. Sorry. I think the whole thing honestly is kind of an homage to a lot of different anime shows and stuff, and I mean, for me, I guess the main things that I see comparison-wise when I'm watching it or working on it is the biggest one that I kind of see is almost like a cross between like the original Voltron, but like a lot of like Last Airbender, Legend of Korra stuff. As far as like the animation style and kind of the writing of it is very, very similar.
Oh no, what I actually meant was like the show itself actually does like specific things that reference specific series.
Oh yeah, honestly. There's certain stuff that probably will go right over my head because I watch almost no anime. I know it's okay. Just come stone me. It's all right. I know. I'm blaspheming here. I still gotta get into it. I've only watched a little bit of anime stuff. I grew up watching like Pokemon, obviously, and Last Airbender, Legend of Korra. I've seen a couple other shows. I'm just not. I don't know a whole lot about it. So
yeah, there was one thing that Lance in particular did. He attempted to do this move called the Rider Kick from Kamen Rider. Unfortunately, because it's Lance, it didn't go right for him.
Obviously, yeah. I mean, it never goes right for him. But I didn't even know what that was.
Yeah.
So
it's this really old like Japanese live action series.
Yeah.
And you know, there's one of the shout outs of our example. And you know, that was just one in particular
that's
that really
funny.
stood out to me.
Yeah, I do know the creators of the show and like the showrunners and the main writers, as far as the story people go, they are huge fans of all that stuff. So I'm sure they've littered it with lots of little references and shout outs, which is awesome. So
yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome, man. What's going on?
Oh my gosh. Sorry.
Your face paint looks great. It kind of scared me at first, but it looks good.
Okay, so Finn has gone through quite a lot of swords. Which is your favorite?
My favorite sword that Finn has used thus far would probably be. I'm pretty partial to the grass sword. The grass sword's pretty G. It's kind of like a Assassin's Creed little hidden blade type thing going on. You know what I'm saying? Just kind of shink comes out. I like when swords kind of shink like that and they come out like that. The Finn sword, the most recent one that is like actually like literally like an alternate universe Finn, which is kind of messed up when you think about it, is also pretty freaking cool. So that's also awesome. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I think every one of his swords are cool though. He just gets iconic things, you know.
Hello.
Hi.
What's your greatest video you ever made?
What do you mean? Like on an episode or like a show or like a...
An episode.
An episode?
Yeah.
Okay. That's hard. I feel like I answered that, but maybe didn't. No, I didn't. I guess I didn't. After a lot of panels, you feel like you've answered things that you actually haven't. I'm gonna go with. I think it's hard. I mean, different. It's hard to answer that question because I mean, you like different things for different reasons. So I don't know if I could say like one show to the other is like my overall favorite. But I'll go with my answer. I think I said earlier, but the Lumpy Space Princess episode where Finn and Jake get the lumps, they get to talk like Beverly Hills chicks. That
Thank
one.
you.
You're welcome. Are you a magician? Do you? Oh, okay. That makes more sense. Gotcha.
So, in the future, what kind of genres would you want to go into? Do you want to branch out from voice acting, from just animation, or you want to do like video games and all that kind of stuff too?
My Little Pony. It's definitely where I'm feeling. No, I'm kidding. I'm actually kidding. So definitely. I mean, I'm somebody who I honestly enjoy getting to do a very wide variety of stuff. So whatever I'm given the opportunity to do, whether it's different forms of voice acting or more on camera stuff, which I'd love to do more of for sure, or still the music, I'm happy doing whatever. Whenever you start in the industry, you kind of start at one thing and end up in something you didn't really think was possible. So. I'm happy to do whatever I'm given the job to do. But definitely, I definitely like to do some more on-camera stuff for sure. That was what I got my start in, and is like a little 5-year-old Jeremy was always my big dream, So definitely probably something like that.
So what kind of tips and tricks could you give to us voice actors out there?
Be Tom Kenny. Just be him. Just replace him, just kind of take over his body and his whole vocal abilities, and then you'll probably be good from there,
What is in the
I'm kidding. It wouldn't hurt though. Honestly, I think the best thing for voice actors is just to be a good actor in general. That's something that surprisingly is kind of almost not thought about a lot of times. To think, oh, how can I be a good actor? How can I specifically be a good voice actor? But most of the time, you'll find that voice actors are also just really good actors. And it all comes down to being able to figure out what works for a character. And you have to kind of judge different things differently. Some characters are going to sound more character-y, and they have very kind of slightly more cartoony voices, and sometimes that sounds awesome. Some characters are going to actually sound more on the natural side, so being able to judge kind of what the project needs is very important. Also, honestly, just getting any form of experience, whether it be like improv training or like a theater background, is really helpful. Just being able to kind of think on your feet and be very quick about stuff, and being able to come up with different characters kind of on the spot. And I guess honestly, a lot of it even is just finding different impressions of different people and kind of being able to bend your voice a little bit. That's what I would give. But for all the stuff acting, for all the stuff, it ultimately just comes down to if you really, really love doing it. And so the biggest thing is just to get experience trying it. And seeing if it is something you really enjoy, because it's funny how many people will start doing something because they think, oh, this will be so much fun, I really want to do this. But after they start doing it, they kind of realize it's not exactly how I thought it would work out or how I thought it would be. And so if it's something you really love to do, I would get experience doing it and then go from there. And you really have to kind of give 100% with it. It is a full-time thing for sure.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Hi.
Hello.
As a fan, I noticed a kind of a difference when Pendleton Ward was there, like just the feel of the show.
Mm-hmm.
How was it for you all when he was there as opposed to when he left?
Honestly, as far as the day-to-day recording of what we're recording, it's been almost no different. I mean, he generally was more behind the scenes anyway, so I didn't, the first season there was a lot of interaction with him because when you're getting a show off the ground and you're just doing the first season of it, you have to really figure out what's happening and stuff, and you have like recasting and stuff like that. But beyond that point, for most of the show, it's been a big collaboration between him and the other storyboarders and writers that also are on the story team. And it's also slightly... people, I guess, kind of think that he's just completely not involved in the show anymore, which is actually not completely the case. He's not the showrunner anymore, so he doesn't like work in like the beat to beat stuff, but he still obviously contributes to voicing Lumpy Space Princess, and also contributes to the overall storyline and stuff. So I mean, everything that gets pitched has to get kind of greenlit by him, and so he's still involved in that aspect. And then actually, the main thing that why he's no longer like the showrunner of it is because he's so busy with other stuff, and because he is currently working on the very, very beginnings of outlining and writing on the Adventure Time animated feature film. Yeah, you can clap for that. Go for it. I give you permission. I have, and as far as that goes, I have no clue when that thing's gonna come out. It's probably definitely a couple years out still for sure. It takes a long time. But yeah, so for us, there was not a huge shift. I mean, the people that we work with, like on a beat to beat moment we're recording, the voice director Kent, been there the whole time. Everyone that's in the booth, and you always have the storyboarder who storyboarded a specific episode also in the booth for that episode, giving notes on kind of what they wanted to do and stuff. And so for us, it's a pretty similar. Yeah, I mean that's kind of the case. And I guess the only tonal shift that you'll have is a generalized thing, because as the show goes on longer, you have more and more that you've done, so you have to find different things, and then you can definitely feel the different styles. I guess the very minorly different styles of each person who's storyboarding. Each one has like a different feel that they kind of are drawn more towards, and so you'll definitely see that if you watch an episode. You can kind of go, oh, I bet that was a Cole episode or so-and-so's episode. But beyond that, yeah, it's been pretty similar the whole way for us, yeah.
Okay, thanks. I have
You're welcome.
one quick question.
Go for it.
In season 8, are we going to see Fiona and Cake?
Or
can you say?
It's not that I couldn't say. I want to say we have more Fiona and Cake coming up, but I actually am not sure off the top of my head. We're not completely done with the season yet, so there may or may not be. I know for season 8 that we have some more miniseries coming up, and that'll dominate a lot of season 8. And so as far as that goes, I know that they're not in those specific things, but we still have some left to go. So there might be. I'm not completely sure, though.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Jeremy, we have about 5 minutes left.
All right, speed round. Let's do some quick questions.
So, I was wondering if you could change Finn's character design, what do you think you would do?
I'd make him super ripped. Just like swole, veins popping out everywhere. Yeah. Yeah.
Hello. A few years ago, you did a rap called Running Errands with my mom.
That is very true.
And I was wondering, how do you feel about that?
I love it. That was for a show that I did also for Cartoon Network, but it was a live-action sketch comedy show called Incredible Crew. And yeah, that was a lot of fun. I did that thing with Nick Cannon. He kind of had a hand in the producing and writing on that. And yeah, it was a blast for me. It was so fun to get a kind of channel my inner angry rap voice that I got to do for that. And it's always fun, like rapping angrily about like things that you shouldn't be rapping angrily about, and just like it's giving attitude that's something that's so stupid, like running errands with your mom. So yeah, it was just a lot of fun. It was a really, really fun shoot.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Are Finn and Marceline ever gonna get together?
There's a little bit of an age gap. It's kind of that Twilight thing going on, where one's like 1,000 years old and one's like 16. So as far as that goes, that would be slightly weird. But hey, I'm down for it. I'm in the camp of Finn just needs a relationship. You know what I'm saying? So whether that's Marceline or Flame Princess or PB, I'm game with any of those.
Who's your favorite character in Adventure Time?
I will answer besides Finn, though, because I feel like I have to say Finn. Besides Finn, probably Lumpy Space Princess or Ice King. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
In Adventure Time, there's been like a recurring scream that Finn has.
That's
Is
true.
there a story behind that?
Pretty much the story behind that is I did it for one episode. I don't even know if I can physically do it anymore. It sounds like a fire alarm almost. It's a very, very high-pitched thing. And I think they were just it's so weird sounding, and it almost sounds like you're like, it's not real, that it's like a computerized thing. But it worked so well, and it was really funny, so I think they just kept using the same one. I would try and do it right now, but I really don't think I physically can. So, thank you. I think that's pretty much about all the time we have. Can you guys give yourselves a round of applause for being an awesome audience?